Imagine this: you're stuck in traffic. The light turns red, and you're late for a meeting. You can feel your heart racing, the frustration creeping in. You're thinking, why does this always happen to me? Then, just as your mind starts to spiral, something clicks. You remember something you read about Stoicism. You take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and remind yourself, okay, I can handle this. This is Stoicism in action. But here's the thing: Stoicism isn't about passivity. It's not about sitting back and letting life happen to you. It's not about giving up or just enduring. Instead, Stoicism is about understanding what you can control, and what you can't. It's about focusing on the things that matter and taking action in the moments that count. In this video, we'll break down the myths around Stoicism and explore why it's far from passive. Because, in reality, Stoicism empowers you to act with clarity, wisdom, and resilience, even in moments as small as sitting in traffic. Stay tuned, and let's dive in. Lesson 1: Understanding the dichotomy of control. Let's start with one of the core ideas of Stoicism: the dichotomy of control. The Stoics believe that life can be divided into two parts: things we can control and things we cannot. The key isn't to ignore the challenges that come our way but to accept that we don't have control over everything. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're hosting a party, and the weather forecast predicts rain. You can't change the weather, right? But what you can do is control how you respond. Maybe you set up an indoor space, or you have extra umbrellas ready for your guests. The lesson here isn't to sit around, hoping for sunshine. It's about preparing for the things that are beyond your control and finding peace in that preparation. Take Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers. He wasn't born into a life of ease. In fact, he was born a slave. His circumstances were harsh, and many of the things in his life were completely outside his control. But here's what's remarkable: Epictetus didn't let those external challenges define him. He chose to focus on what he could control: his attitude and his actions. His wisdom shows us that no matter the situation, our mindset can remain our own. In your daily life, the weather is just a small example. Maybe it's a difficult job, a strained relationship, or a setback you didn't expect. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. That's where your power lies. So here's the takeaway: focus on the things you can control. And for the rest, let it go. That's the essence of Stoicism, and a path to a more peaceful life. Lesson 2: Stoicism is about active reflection, not passive resignation. There's a big misunderstanding about Stoicism. A lot of people think it's about being passive, just accepting whatever happens. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Stoicism is about action. It's about actively reflecting on our thoughts and choices, and using challenges as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. For example, imagine you get some harsh feedback at work. Your first instinct might be to get defensive or upset. But Stoicism teaches a different approach. Instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back. Ask yourself, is there truth in this feedback? What can I learn from it? It's not about shrugging your shoulders and doing nothing. It's about turning reflection into action, taking that feedback and using it to improve. Let's look at Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers. Despite ruling one of the most powerful empires in the world, Marcus wasn't arrogant or complacent. He practiced daily self-reflection through his personal journal, which we now know as meditations. In those pages, he asked himself how he could lead better, think better, and live better. He didn't just sit back and let life happen to him. He actively used Stoicism to grow, to become a wiser leader and a better person. Now think about your own life. Whether you're dealing with criticism, personal setbacks, or a tough situation, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do to grow? That's the heart of Stoicism. It's not about passive acceptance, it's about turning reflection into progress. So here's the takeaway: Stoicism calls us to reflect actively, to make better choices, and to keep moving forward. Obstacles aren't the end of the road, they're opportunities to grow. Lesson 3: Taking responsibility for your actions. Stoicism often gets misunderstood. It's not about sitting back and letting life happen to you. It's about stepping up, taking responsibility for what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, and your decisions. When something goes wrong, Stoicism invites you to pause and ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Let's say you're late to work. It's easy to blame traffic or your alarm clock, right? But a Stoic approach would be different. You'd ask yourself, could I have prepared better last night? Could I have left a little earlier? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about owning your part in the situation and figuring out how you can do better next time. Now, let's talk about Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers. Seneca faced incredible challenges: financial ruin, exile, and more. He could have blamed the people around him or the unfairness of life. But instead, he turned inward. He asked himself how his own choices had played a role in his circumstances and focused on what he could control moving forward. Even when life seemed chaotic, Seneca didn't let external events steal his inner peace. He stayed focused on his actions and his growth. In your daily life, taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means recognizing where you have the power to make better choices. That's the active power of Stoicism. It's about being the driver of your life, not just a passenger along for the ride. So here's the takeaway: Stoics believe in taking responsibility for what you can control. Own your choices, and use every challenge as a chance to grow. Lesson 4: The role of virtue in Stoicism. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a simple but powerful idea: virtue. It's about striving to be the best version of yourself, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation. But here's the thing: virtue isn't something that just happens. It's not passive. It's an active practice, built through deliberate choices. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague is being unfair. One option is to stay silent, hoping the situation will somehow fix itself. But the Stoic approach is different. Acting with virtue means choosing wisdom and justice. You might calmly address the issue, standing up for yourself or others, but doing so with respect and fairness. It's not easy, but it's the right thing to do. Now, let's look at Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Zeno's life wasn't smooth sailing, literally. He was shipwrecked and found himself stranded in Athens, with nothing. He could have given up, but instead, he chose a different path. He embraced philosophy and dedicated himself to living virtuously. That decision didn't just change his life, it laid the foundation for Stoicism itself. His story reminds us that no matter how tough life gets, we always have the choice to act with virtue. In your own life, practicing virtue might mean staying honest when it's tempting to cut corners or showing kindness to someone who's been unkind to you. These choices aren't passive, they require effort, intention, and courage. But every time you choose virtue, you're building a stronger, wiser version of yourself. So here's the takeaway: Stoicism challenges you to act virtuously in every situation. It's not always the easiest path, but it's the most rewarding one. Virtue is a choice, and it's yours to make. Lesson 5: The Stoic practice of amor fati, love of fate. One of the most transformative practices in Stoicism is amor fati, or the love of fate. It's not just about accepting what happens in life, it's about embracing it fully. Seeing every event, good or bad, as a part of your unique journey. Imagine you were counting on a promotion at work, but it didn't happen. It's natural to feel disappointed or frustrated. But a Stoic would take a different approach. They'd ask, what can I learn from this? How can this setback help me grow stronger and better prepare for the next opportunity? It's not about ignoring your feelings but turning the situation into a chance for growth. This idea wasn't just embraced by the Stoics. Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher deeply inspired by Stoicism, made amor fati central to his philosophy. For Nietzsche, it wasn't about resigning to life's hardships but loving life in its entirety, both the triumphs and the challenges. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, lived this idea every day. He saw every obstacle as a chance to build his strength and character. To him, life's difficulties weren't setbacks, they were opportunities. In your own life, amor fati means more than just enduring tough times. It's about actively finding the value in them. Whether it's a disappointment, a failure, or an unexpected twist, ask yourself, what lesson is hidden here? How can this help me grow? Erase the key takeaway: life will always have its ups and downs, but how you choose to respond is what truly matters. Embrace every challenge, not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to grow. That's the power of amor fati. To wrap it up, Stoicism isn't about sitting back and letting life happen to you. It's about stepping forward, actively engaging with life, and making choices that reflect your values. It's about focusing on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, and your decisions, and letting go of what you can't. Through reflection, taking responsibility, practicing virtue, and embracing fate, Stoicism gives you the tools to navigate life's challenges with strength and purpose. So, the next time you find yourself in a difficult situation, remember, you don't have to passively accept it. You do have the power to act, to choose, and to grow. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our reactions to them. Stay active. Stay strong. Stay stoic.